Welcome to today's recap. We are returning with everyone else is a Returnee Part 2. We left last time after our heroes dealt with the stealthy shadow leopard that gave them quite the hard time. If you missed the first part, be sure to check it out in the link down below. And if you want an angel as well, destroy the like button. Turn on the notifications and comment down below as we look forward to your feedback. Ilhan gets to butcher the monster's remains as the Empress makes what look like some important calls. Eartha picks up on that and advises Ilhan to stay close to her as she seems to have many connections alongside skill and pride. However, with his special power of loneliness, he finds that hard to be achievable. The fine meat and material shines as Ilhan finishes butchering the remains and trucks arrive to take away the precious resources. The Empress thanks Ilhan again, as thanks to him, they prevented the monster from causing any more damage. However, she also wants to dissolve their party. Ilhan is shocked and immediately thinks he did something she didn't like. But the Empress feels like she is the one who is lacking as their power gap is too large between them. They agree to form a party when she reaches his level, and by shaking their hands, their party gets dissolved. Ilhan feels like he has regained some freedom, but as much as it is refreshing, it is also a bit sad at the same time. Before they part ways, the Empress asks Ilhan for his number. But as he wants to keep a low profile, he wonders if he can trust her, even though with a warm smile, she promises to keep his name and his number to herself. The answer is yes. He can trust her and insert his number into her phone. He is in a state of bliss, as this was his first time that a woman asked for his number, which Eartha finds too sad. Back home, Ilhan is pleased he already checked off the tertiary class monster's mana stone of the list to evolve his resting skill. Now the only problem was him getting 500 liters of troll blood, as they haven't appeared anywhere yet. Eartha jabs at him that if he had been anyone else, he could have simply gone to the other world and gained it there. Luckily for him, Earth's mana concentration is getting higher with each day, and soon trolls will appear as well. The good thing about their blood is that it has healing abilities. If you have deadly poison resistance though, Eartha warns him to not even think about eating or drinking random monster meat or blood. Also, to upgrade his skill, he will have to end a sleeping secondary class monster with a single attack. But by reinforcing his mighty spear a little, he might just be able to do that. He goes to create what he can with his materials and wonders what he should do with the muscle and the tendon. But before he could make a choice, the eternal flame gulps it down and leaves Ilhan distraught, as he was gonna get strong poison resistance and eat it. But the effects of the eternal flame is changing the tendon into something incredible. Ilhan names the creation the giant's rubber band due to its incredible elasticity. Super stretchy but very durable, resistant to fire, water, and shock. With it, he gets a brilliant idea to create a pile bunker. A weapon similar to a gun, but it shoots out spikes instead of bullets and uses the giant's rubber band elasticity instead of gunpowder to shoot them out. It is a top-tier power weapon with great attack power, albeit a bit tricky to use. But it is worth it due to its sheer piercing power. The elasticity is the best kind of energy source as it returns more power than you put in. Eartha is a bit overwhelmed by his endless energy, but at the same time amazed and intrigued with what he will come up with. Next, he tailors it to his own strength limit and uses Shadow Leopard's teeth as the bullets. He finishes quickly and considers using the mana stone to make it even stronger, but chooses to save it for now. He promises the pile bunker that he will find a mana stone just for it. He divided the pile bunker into 3 levels. However, it is super resistant, and even his super strength gets put to the test. He loads the first level in 2 seconds, the second level in 10 seconds, and the third level in 2 minutes, all the while calling for his mommy. Its loading speed and long distance, however, make the weapon quite disadvantageous for most scenarios, but he means to use it if a really big monster comes along. As Eartha calls out these minuses, Ilhan praises her talent at being pessimistic, and now he must make a weapon for smaller monsters. Take a break already, man. He makes destruction traps all until morning, and when the angels arrive back, since he is so good at making them, he might cause an overflow. Since his traps are so good, even the other traps around the world had been automatically reinforced, because if all the monsters were attracted to a single source, then the other traps would be unused. And if the mana is spreading around when there are no monsters around to lure them, what might happen? The Akashic Records, random records, and traps mana will collide, resulting in a super strong monster to appear. Ilhan is happy with the explanation, but gets goosebumps at how terrible an overflow can be. He was able to defeat the Shadow Leopard, a tertiary class monster, because its ability was only stealth, and even then, he could not have done it alone. Eartha understands him, and that is why they will now decrease the number of traps he has to make from 11 to 8 to prevent said overflow. The white-haired angel Ciuda is annoyed with all the unpredictable things that are happening on Earth and instructs Eartha to manage the human, Ilhan. Well, Eartha took offense to that and snapped back at him. She received orders to help him not manage him. With her short temper, she summoned a glowing green sword and pointed it angrily towards the angel, telling him to focus on his duties instead of telling her what to do. Ilhan is enjoying the drama, as he has never seen Eartha mad yet. Even the other two angels back Eartha up by telling Ciuda to mind his own business and focus on his duties. Seeing their petty squabble, Ilhan is somewhat relieved as he sees that angels are not so different from humans, even though they are higher beings. Even Eartha has emotions. The angels leave and Eartha apologizes for showing Ilhan her other side. He finds it refreshing, though, that angels also express emotions, even though they had supposedly gone over them long ago. She praises him that he is that good that he even made an angel jealous, quite the feat. But he brushes off the compliment as she drives in the point that he is underestimating himself, which might actually be a good thing. Eartha is worried how things would end should he believe in his talents and power and skills and actually challenge God himself. She gets gloomy but reverts back to her own self pretty quickly. She changes the topic, as she has two important things to tell Ilhan about the Trap of Destruction quest completion rewards. It appears that the dungeon that appeared on Earth has a new kind of metal, and she is willing to tell him where it popped up. Ilhan gets extremely excited at the news. The next day, the two walk the open, empty streets, and Eartha asks him if it reminds him of the days he was all alone. It does a bit, but this time, he knows that there are people here and coming back from the other world, and also people like Empress fighting the monsters. He feels no longer alone. She smiles with content. They reach the entrance to the dungeon, a void-like portal which emanates blue light. Luckily for Ilhan, the entrance is in Korea, and he was able to get there on foot, as going overseas, or even on boats or planes, is now impossible for anyone due to the state of emergency across the country. He actually thought of making an airplane to travel around if needed. He extends his hand towards the entrance, and a red notification warning message prompts up. The entry to anyone below level 50 is restricted. Since he is level 36, he cannot go in. However, Eartha is confident in herself and teases Ilhan. Who does he think she is? The answer's rude angel and a property trespasser cut her deep. She is a higher being who creates and manages the traps of destruction. With a simple swipe of her hand, the entry restriction has been undone. She is more useful than Ilhan, though, and with an angry look, she tells him to keep that in mind, as she is actually a very great help to him. He extends his hand again towards the entrance, and with a swirl he finds himself inside the dungeon full of glittering blue crystals. Eartha surprises Ilhan with a pop quiz. How do new monsters appear on Earth? The mana in the atmosphere has to reach a certain concentration for that to happen, a very basic condition. And just like what happens in neglected rice jars, where rice weevils appear, and dirty, unclean rooms where cockroaches appear, monsters also appear when the environments are perfect for them. With a dumb look on his face, he asks her, why is she bringing that up now? From now on, Ilhan will have to kill the monsters in this dungeon and extract their hearts, which are the new metal that appeared on Earth. Ilhan is confused as he was super excited to mine. He put on his miner's helmet and brought his pickaxe and all with him as well. But he was not listening as she said he can obtain metal and not that he will be mining it. He was indeed super prepared for mining. But this here is not Minecraft. But conveniently for him, he obtained a bag with space expansion magic as a reward for a quest. However, it is not as OP as it seems, as there is a capacity limit, and there is no magic to make it weigh less. But he has no problem carrying around a few dozen tons. You know, like any normal person does. He turns his attention towards the cave and all the crystals. They are apparently all monsters, and he feels like he has come across a spoiler. He wanted to run at the crystals with his pickaxe to mine it, and then get ambushed by rock monsters or something. He wants to experience something new, and from his bag TARDIS, he pulls out a large axe and hammer combo, the heavy battle crusher. It will work better than a spear against a metal monster. The weapon's strength is guaranteed since it is made from the bones of the shadow leopard, and with the extra option to increase its weight by 50% upon a hit. Raising his axe hammer high up, he swings at the metal monsters with all his might, crushing it in one blow. A myriad of notifications pop up of experience gain and skill and power leveling up. He obtained the records of a level 5 metal heart. His critical hit has become level 4. He also reached the maximum level for blunt weapon technique. He can evolve the skill if he has the necessary ingredients. Ilhan is frustrated that it died in one hit. Eartha then distracts him by showing him the metal heart's heart. It is the most durable part of the body where all the mana is gathered, as the monster can reinforce a part of its body if it detects danger. Usually one person distracts it while another ambushes it from behind. It is pretty weak for a secondary class monster, and Ilhan finds it a bit lame. Oh, but the danger always finds the overconfident ones, and the ones who let their guard down. Ilhan gets fired up as he explains how it usually happens in novels, where a character says it is easier than he thought, and then dies in the next pages. But this time there was no ambush or plot twist, just boring grinding. Maybe this is Minecraft after all? No, Ilhan is just abnormal. Unfortunately for him, the scenery is all the same around him, and he needs to walk 10 to 20 minutes to find one monster that he pulverizes in one hit, even without achieving a critical hit. No adventure, no thrill, nothing, just pure labor and grind. He even unintentionally reached max level on blunt weapons techniques. The saying "all rivers flow to the sea" is quite appropriate. Now they reach a level 74 big metal heart. Not really creative naming indeed. But Ilhan gets thrilled as he pulls out his ultimate weapon pile bunker charged up to the 3rd level. Eartha is kind of sick of him having something made for every situation at hand. Ilhan launches into the air and lands on Big Metal Heart, exploding it with the pile bunker in one heat. He obtains a ton of experience and the records of a level 74 Big Metal Heart. Upon seeing his crushed bone bullet, he starts thinking of ways to create more sustaining ammunition, but Eartha urges him to pick up the monster's heart. This heart is much sturdier than the others, and Eartha explains that a King Metal Heart, which is the final form of metal hearts, has the highest durability in the world. But since it is a quaternary class monster, it will not be in this dungeon. Ilhan hopes she does not jinx it like usual, but she is steadfast about it. And even the big metal heart was a coincidence and should not even be here, and that it will not happen again. At least until it did. There was another one. She curses the earth. Saving the pile bunker, Ilhan pulls out another toy of his, the vehement 1000 bomb hammer, and happily launches at the crystal monsters. After a few days, they clear the dungeon of all monsters. In that time, he has become level 40. His stamina has increased by 1 point. Also, his strength, dexterity, and mana have increased by 1 point. He can come back later if he needs more materials. But Eartha gets distracted by something, but she denies it when Ilhan asks her about it. She was just surprised, as the trap of destruction used to make this dungeon is old, that there is no problem at all. But Ilhan judges by her tone that something big is gonna happen. He picked up on that. If Eartha is too casual about something, then something bad will definitely happen. The two exit the dungeon and are greeted by the 3 angels. And at that time, the installation of the traps of destruction all over Earth was finished. And the hundreds of thousands of dungeons that were set up throughout the Earth activated one by one with large beacons. Monsters attracted by them began disappearing a little at a time until there were none left. After that, civilization began to regain their security and stability. A news report informs us that the nations of Asia are finding peace once again, and that the quests and rewards from the other world are decreasing. Eartha explains that it is the higher beings that are limiting the quest rewards in order for people to return to Earth and deal with the monsters in the dungeons. Ilhan, hammering away at his creations, thinks that now his parents must be back. Eartha confirms and then asks about what he has made. But he was sleepy as he went straight to work after coming out of the dungeon. Even though he should have rested, he wanted to finish up everything before everyone returned. With the big metal heart's core, he created a suit of armor, scarily sturdy and stealthy black full-plate armor. A legendary armor only an artisan at his skills peak could have created. There was something even more special about this armor, as it had 3 extra options instead of 1. Ilhan asks Eartha if there could be even 3 options? For someone like Ilhan without mana, no. But in his case, it is a yes, as he has the title Creator of Myth. Thanks to that title, he was able to bring forth what was once impossible. No mana crafting implemented on the armor, yet he gained 3 options of ambush attack power increase by 10% in stealth mode, a 30% increase in power because of the armor alone, and a whopping 50% power increase when using a spear. Eartha advises him not to sell items with 3 options to other people, as it would be unwise and too dangerous for him to reveal his ability like that. He basically ignores her and asks what if there are 4 options. He quickly regrets it. Eartha then declares that those with 3 options will be from now on called gamma options, which Ilhan points out is kinda lame. With the rest of the materials, he made more weapons. Now his old steel spear must retire. All the weapons and armors he will not use anymore will all go in the Eternal Flame. And with that action, the Eternal Flame has leveled up. After that, Ilhan goes to take a well-deserved rest. He wakes up the next day, still sleepy, but he is quickly fully awake with the smell of his mom's cooking. His parents are back. Eating his mom's cooking was very refreshing for him, as he had only survived on beef jerky for 2 weeks in the dungeon. As they eat, his father stands up to get to work. Even during such times, he needs to reestablish his position at work and not get fired for being late. It seems not even monsters or the apocalypse can stop the turning cog of the workforce. But before he left, Ilhan gives him a plain-looking shirt to protect him from any monsters. Even though it is plain-looking, the option and the defense power are both excellent. They say their goodbyes and his mom asks him if he is going back to college. But Ilhan doesn't believe he needs college right now. His mom is super supportive about that. Ilhan goes back to his workshop, which changed overnight. The heavens decided to reward him for his accomplishments. The tools are made from metals that will only appear once Earth has evolved by 2 levels. He is super grateful about it. But there is more. He gained deadly poison-resistant skill records, which will allow him to bypass even a quaternary class monster's poison. With these super rare records, he will be able to learn the skill and chomp on troll meat. And for the last reward, Eartha will tell him the troll dungeon location. The location of the dungeon is in the land of stripes and stars and mighty eagles United States. Ilhan and Eartha arrive at Incheon Airport, and the first is super excited about flying, as it would be his first time. However, he is forgetting something very important. He has no passport or visa, but it doesn't matter as he is gonna smuggle himself in. Without any problems, he goofily walks around and gets a seat on the plane without a soul asking him a question. Even the translator is like, what the heck? He can even undetectably take a can of Coke out of the passing air attendant. He looks out of the window at the passing fighter jet. In case of a monster appearing in the sky, a fighter jet with an ability user guards the plane on their transition overseas. That's why the tickets for flying have skyrocketed. Before they get to Arizona, where the troll dungeon is, they will have a layover in Los Angeles. Things are going pretty smoothly this time. But when they arrive at Los Angeles Airport, there is a monster. Ilhan calls out Earth's next line, that this must be an error. He nailed it. Since even an angel could not predict this, it means he, a human, will have to take care of it. However, this is no ordinary incident. It is an overflow. The trap of destruction must have exploded and resulted in a mass of mutant monsters, which are much stronger than before. The energy of the trap of destruction is absorbed into the surrounding area, changing the environment. A part of the LA airport is now a desert. He dons his mask and his new armor and blasts off in search of monsters. But this time, he must not miss a single monster, because a mutant created from an overflow can react with other dungeons, causing them to overflow as well. Ilhan stops at his tracks and calls out the foreshadowing. Eartha is not dealing with his BS and offers him a quest with the rewards of stats and skills if he manages to take out all the mutant monsters. He quickly and greedily accepted. A massive blast happens near them and people come running out for their lives, away from large lizard-like monsters that can talk. It is a secondary class monster with a special ability. Eartha urges him to be alert. Out of his bag, TARDIS, he pulls out his new weapon of choice, Grim Reaper's Black Spear. With one strike to the head, he takes out one of the flame lizards. People around him are impressed and praise him when another flame lizard sneaks up on him from behind and torches him with a giant fireball. Han manages to dodge it, but it comes right after him, and he takes it straight on. The people despair, but Ilhan, thanks to his armor, comes out unscathed, a pure tank. But after the attack he just took, everyone seemed to forgot about him, and the people rallied against the monsters. Even the monsters ignore him completely. A fierce battle commences. Everyone is fighting left and right. A person is about to get scorched, but Ilhan blocks the attack with his own body with ease, and before the person got to thank him, he was already piercing another monster through the head. In its final breath, the monster utters records, a strong warrior's records. They are clearly after something. The other monsters now notice Ilhan and deem him the strongest warrior there. If they eat his records, they can evolve. The monsters are acting a bit cuckoo as they are all obsessed with records and evolving. The overflow is dangerous indeed. The person from before comes to thank Ilhan again for saving their life. It turns out to be a woman's voice under the helmet. Ilhan gives a friendly tip and boosts his self-confidence. But Eartha is right there to shatter it as no one can see his face right now. Ilhan continues slaying the lizards one after another, but they just keep on coming. After a while, he has become now level 44 from all the flame lizards he has dealt with. His strength has increased by 2 points. Also, his dexterity, stamina, and mana have increased by 1 point. Eartha explains to him that he will have to take out their leader as it is the main cause of the environmental change. Then he will be able to get rid of the others permanently. The monsters will continue to appear as long as the leader lives. That's easy for her to say as more lizards descend upon Ilhan in large numbers. They shout their crazy obsessions and charge at him. He manages to block another fireball and dash through the smoke to end 2 lizards. 2 characters watch Ilhan from the other side of the battlefield and think to themselves how amazing he is, taking them all on by himself when it is hard for them to take one on as a group. Ilhan jumps high into the sky to scour the area for the monster's leader. A tad larger black flame lizard stands out to him in the crowd. That must be the leader. He swiftly descends, and with one strike takes out a bunch, leveling up in the process, leveling up again now to level 45. His dexterity has increased by 2. Also, his strength and stamina and mana have increased by 1. But at this rate, he is still not going to be able to control mana. Eartha encourages him that it will be fine until he reaches level 100, and that his speed at which he levels up is really slow. The knight in red and black armor from before tries warning Ilhan about the lizards sneaking up behind him, that they explode no contact with humans. But Ilhan turns that to his advantage and grabs the sneaky bugger by the throat and throws it towards a fragment of a building coming his way. The leader of the flame lizards is still alive and stomps with great strength to move the rocks before him into spikes aimed at Ilhan, but he easily balances on top of them. Suddenly, though, the boulders beneath him explode, and everyone is discouraged as they think he is a goner. Of course, Ilhan comes out unscathed and pulls out the flash of light pile bunker, with now an upgraded level of power, the 4th level. At the first level, it only deals 1400 damage. At the 2N level, it deals 2100 damage. At the 3RD level, it deals 3300 damage. And at its new 4th level, it can now deal up to 4500 damage. Ilhan even manages to score a critical hit straight in the head, and the monsters rush to their bosses, side pummeling everyone in their way. That is, until Ilhan pulls out a new weapon, Foolish Giant's Dark Greatsword. But the fight with the leader is still not over. Even on the verge of defeat, it wants the records of humans, and the ground starts shaking and boulder upon boulder piles up. It is planning to blow up the entire place. The entire place is about to blow up, and the monster believes it has won. It arrogantly proclaims that they will take the top of the world in place of the humans. But Ilhan quickly and finally shushes it up, putting a stop to its nonsense obsession. The rumbling in the area starts to calm down now that the leader is defeated. Ilhan is surprised that even though the level of the leader was lower than the shadow leopard, that they can still change the entire surrounding environment. How does it make sense? Plus, he is not satisfied with the little experience he received. But that is how mutant monsters are. They are very strong in comparison to their levels. Ilhan jumps down from the levitated plateau, and people flock to him and praise his skills. The Korean couple even offers to heal him if he is injured anywhere. Eartha feels waves of jealousy coming from him. He assures the crow that he is fine and urges them to get rid of all the other monsters. He points out that it will be a big problem should they miss even one of them and let it get away. Ilhan is once again on the hunt for the lizards, but he believes that even if he works his ass off here to take care of all the lizards, he is sure that one will still somehow manage to make it out alive. Once he is certain that he dealt with all of them, just that one lucky one will probably stare at the plane he is on and run off into the forest and start preparing for revenge. And that the moment he will come back to Los Angeles later, another mutant incident will occur because of that one lucky monster that managed to run off. Eartha shatters his foreshadowing, though, and points out 2 flame lizards that are trying to run away at 11 o'clock. Ilhan jumps into the sky after them and slices them in 2. He then starts to stuff the corpses of the flame lizards into his bag TARDIS, leaving only some blood behind as proof of their demise. But as he stands up, he suddenly makes a hole in the floor. The bag TARDIS finally became too heavy for him. He begs Eartha to get him an option to control the weight of the bag. The quest was now completed, and Ilhan got his rewards. Erta enchants in an unknown language, and two angels appear behind her. She called them as she wanted some help with Minecraft. The female angel quickly understood what needs to be done upon seeing the bag TARDIS cracking and sinking into the concrete floor. The three angels put their mana into the bag, and now even Eartha on her tiny wings can carry the bag. She brings it to Ilhan, and now he can control its weight however he pleases. The female angel smiles at Ilhan and tells him that she was actually observing him earlier today. After all, the one she is supervising was also present at the battlefield. Ilhan did not know that there were other humans that received the help of the angels. The person that was today on the battlefield in the angel's grace is called Na Yoana, the Korean woman that offered to heal him if necessary. Eartha is strict though, and asks Patha to not tell Yona about Ilhan's abilities as his information is too precious and needs to be protected. Patha is amused as she has never seen Erta worry about a lower being so much and teases her that she might have a crush on him. Eartha gets mad and sends them back from where they came. Erta asks Ilhan if he will go help Yona since it will be beneficial to him, but he says it will be impossible as he is an outsider incel and that there is no way he will be able to approach someone else first. That's a bit sad. Eartha then gives him the rest of his quest rewards, a skill called superhuman strength, which he can use without mana. Lucky him. That might actually be a monster's skill as he already learned all the skills a human might learn. Now that the danger has cleared, the airplanes can take off again. Yona plops into her seat alongside Hajin and searches for Ilhan as Patha said he would be on this plane as well. Hajin asks her nicely to sit down properly and put on her seatbelt and to lower her voice as someone might hear her. She wonders what he looks like. Is he a muscular, manly macho man? Or maybe he is actually very feminine? Hajin doesn't understand why that would matter, as she only wanted him as a teammate because he is so strong. She teases him that he might be jealous. From the back seats, Ilhan observes them from under his sunglasses and has a feeling that he'll keep coming across them. Eartha tells him to stop goofing around and acting like his life is a movie. The Russian author Anton Chekhov once said that if in the first act you have hung a pistol on the wall, then in the following one, it should be fired. It seems his feeling and ours has come out true as we see the three enjoying a meal together. We and Ilhan saw two characters after a while that don't look like pointless extras and that will actually contribute more to the story. Yona asks for another piece of meat as it is so good it melts in her mouth. The scorpion monster's meat, that is. But for us to understand how it came to this situation, we'll have to go back in time, where Ilhan stands in front of a humongous dungeon entrance. Ilhan and Eartha stand in awe in front of the tremendous dungeon entrance, and even she is baffled at what exactly is going on with its size. Well, don't ask Ilhan as she is the higher being and not him. She says that she'll look around a bit, as she had heard it should be a normal troll dungeon while Ilhan is gloomy. Why does something weird happen everywhere he goes? After looking around a bit, Eartha understood what happened here. It was another rare phenomenon. Two traps of destruction were placed on the same exact spot here by coincidence, causing two dungeons to combine and become this large one. A dungeon like this will probably have other monsters beside just trolls. Our hero should be careful. Ilhan doesn't quite understand what she means by that and asks her for subtitles. Please, there will be two field bosses instead of one. They enter the dungeon and step into a world of greenery. This dungeon is a highland. They immediately spot a troll coming towards them. It yawns and lays down, falling asleep in 3 seconds. It appears that trolls usually all have resting skills. That is why troll blood is required to evolve the resting skill. Ilhan sneaks up on the sleeping troll and with the face of a villain prepares to send it to forever sleep. With one jab to the throat, he makes sure that he will rest forever. Ilhan easily acquired his first 3 liters of troll blood and is ready to hunt for 500 more of them. Familiar faces are present in front of the giant dungeon entrance. It is Yona and Hajin along with Patha. The angel warns her to be careful, as one never knows what may happen in dungeons. Haejin is eager to go in, get the scorpion poison they need, and go back to Korea quickly, as he doesn't like English. Yona is excited for the dungeon date and how fun it is gonna be. They enter the portal of doom that turns from blue slowly into a purplish red. Inside it is already night for our hero Ilhan as he cooks himself a nice piece of poisonous troll meat. Luckily for him, he has the deadly poison resistance, and it is only a bit more chewier than beef. Also, eating the meat raises his deadly poison resistance skill quickly as well. Eartha just points out that that means the meat is extremely poisonous. But since he has the skill, it doesn't really matter. Cooking monsters or eating their meat raises the appropriate skill quickly, which is a nice bonus. But anyways, it has been 5 days since Ilhan and Eartha entered the dungeon, but they have only seen trolls so far, even though 2 different dungeons combined. Eartha has a theory though, but is not quite sure yet if it is correct. Ilhan is curious though and asks about it. She theorizes that his incredible stealth effect hid both the fire and the meat smell. The 2 spot the 500 troll, and Ilhan monologues about his hardships in the Highlands dungeon. There were difficulties, and he wanted to eat other meat because he got bored of troll meat. Luckily, his desire to grow stronger pushed him through the hardship of eating troll meat every day, while in fact he could not stop eating because it raised his deadly poison resistance and cooking skill. He gets mad at Eartha for reading his mind and ruining his conclusion to the hunt. With one strike, he takes out the peaceful-looking, sleeping 500 troll, granting him eternal rest. At that moment, an important notification pops up. He cannot become level 50 without obtaining a secondary class. More notifications pop up, showing him the path he may take from now on. By choosing a Class A trial, matching the class will be given. Eartha congratulates Ilhan upon finally obtaining his secondary class. But since a lot of things could change, it is finally time for her to explain more about proceeding with the secondary class. The number 1 option, Bloodlancer Expert, is the next level of what he has right now. The number 2 option, Battle Expert, is an expert of all weapons. His own body will also be used as a weapon. The number 4 option, Berserker, makes him a warrior that doesn't leave the battlefield until either he or his opponent is dead. A pure, bloodthirsty psychopath. Eartha explains that all 3 are strong and rare classes. But Ilhan asks her about the number 3 option, Rookie Reaper. But unfortunately, Eartha is not sure as she had never seen that one either. Most likely, it is an exclusive class. It might even be completely different from its name too. However, he is going to take a lucky chance, and he chooses the Rookie Reaper. He chooses the option, Rookie Reaper, and notifications pop up explaining what he has to do. To obtain the Rookie Reaper class, he must go through a process in order to become a Reaper. It is also the only path given to him, for he has chosen to deal with death while being alive. He will need to take on a task to prove himself worthy of this position. The tasks are as follows. He must kill 100 secondary class monsters with 1 hit in an ambush, and he must kill a tertiary class monster with 1 hit in an ambush. Ilhan screams in frustration as the difficulty of the second class is very high. He now understands why some people never go beyond level 50. Killing a tertiary class monster with 1 attack at level 50 will be quite the feat, but he does not find it impossible. Eartha is intrigued if there is a way. Ilhan might have a chance if he uses a mana stone to reinforce his weapon with Monocraft, then it might work. A large bang emanates through the highlands as Ilhan upgrades his weapon. He wonders if it will be enough when a sand scorpion comes barreling towards him with Yona in its claws. Ilhan wonders what a sand scorpion is doing in the highlands as Yona screams for help. She screams at the top of her lungs with tears in her eyes as Paitha flies after her that she should have been more careful. Haejin is also tracking her from behind, running after the fast giant monster. Ilhan doesn't understand how they could be struggling so hard against some weak-ass monster. But he wouldn't understand as he has never been ambushed and probably never will be. He really did not want to get involved with the couple. but he still puts on his mask to hide his identity and brings out a long spike. Eartha notices that the spike is actually the skewer he used to eat all the troll meat. He throws the skewer and yells its name, Metal Heart Steel Skewer. Eartha is dumbfounded that he used such a precious material for a meat skewer of all things. The metal skewer hits, and the monster drops Yona. Ilhan catches her and immediately tosses her to Heejun, and they fumble on the ground. Ilhan then takes out his spear and throws it at the scorpion, piercing its chest and ending its clawing days. He is surprised it was actually quite a high-level monster. The monster's main weapon is poison, so it was a good matchup for Ilhan, who possesses high-level resistance. He observes the corpse of the giant sand scorpion and bets it would taste good cooked. Eartha cannot believe he will eat again. Paitha checks on Yona and Hajin, but Yona ignores her and notices Ilhan, who she calls LA's Dark Knight. She excitedly shows her phone to his face, saying that he is trending on Instagram right now. Nonetheless, some are even saying he is an FBI agent, but Dark Knight sounds way cooler. Eartha gets menacing, calling our beloved internet a waste. Ilhan suspects something bad happened with Eartha and the internet. After that, he ignores the couple and proceeds to butcher the scorpion. As he cooks under the stars, the couple linger around him in the delicious smell of scorpion meat. Ilhan offers to make them some, but warns that the meat contains poison. However, Yona says it is okay and that she will take care of it. She purifies the meat and a ghastly smoke rises out of it, making it safe to eat now. The poison is all gone. Ilhan is disturbed as they are both good-looking and they have good skills, calling God unfair. Eartha finds it natural as she was blessed by the goddess of beauty. Her divine power is amazing, while Ilhan, on the other hand, was abandoned for thousands of years. Yona tastes the meat and praises the Dark Knight cooking skills. And with that little story, we return back to the present, where our heroes have finished eating their scorpion meal. Yona wants to take this opportunity of sharing a meal to try to invite Ilhan to their party, but he flatly rejects her. She pushes on, trying to persuade him with her being a pretty girl and all it would benefit him, but he rejects her without even letting her finish. Yona cries to Heejin that she was rejected in an instant, despite being this pretty. Ilhan then thinks he might have been jumping to conclusions as they do not behave how a typical couple would. Heejin then steps forward and thanks him for saving his teammate. Ilhan notices that the business card he just received looks the same as the card Kang Mira gave him. Maybe they are from the same company? Yona also chimes in and gives him her business card as well. They are only here for business, so they are gonna go back to Korea right after they are done. Haejeon shushes her up as she shouldn't reveal so much information, even though she did not really reveal that much. He drags her away, and Ilhan predicts the future again, that he will probably come across them in this dungeon again. But this time, it will be because he will follow them. Yona and Heejun walk away, and she is persistent that Ilhan would join their side if she could have just seduced him a bit longer. She then thinks that they should have asked for his help and offer him everything from the scorpions except the poison. He surely would have taken such a generous deal. But Heejun interjects on what if he wants the poison? Also, it would be bad for them if he asked what they need the poison for. She needs to watch her mouth. But in a twist of irony, it is him that should really watch what he is saying. Yona wonders if Heaven's quest is something they really have to hide, as he saved their lives and fed them. She is sure he is a kind person, but Heejun calls her naive despite her age. Ilhan asks Eartha to explain herself, as she said this is a troll dungeon. It doesn't make sense, but even Eartha does not know. She thought that only trolls lived here. Ilhan then thinks she is suspicious. At that moment, another scorpion appeared, trying to ambush the two, but Ilhan takes it out with another one of his metal meat skewers. He is surprised that a monster appeared, but they didn't even notice it because of his stealth skill. He wonders, how did they ended up in the situation earlier when they had their own guardian angel? Eartha explained that an angel's power on Earth is somewhat limited. They can only give clues and advice. Yona and Hijan are on the lookout for the super giant scorpion, the giant Deathstalker. Ilhan, who is still following closely behind them, points at the giant thing behind them. Yona and Hijan are again caught by surprise, but this time it is the giant Deathstalker. It finally appeared, and Yona was impressed by its huge size. Hijan immediately draws his sword and shield and asks her for a buff. She creates a pinkish magic circle and casts a buff on him, making him stronger. He then bravely charges at the giant Deathstalker. As they are a paladin and a healer, Ilhan assumes he will not have to intervene, and that they will probably take care of it on their own. But he probably should do something about a troll sneaking up behind the unsuspecting Yona. The troll roars in her face and starts to run away like a scaredy cat. But lucky for her, Ilhan comes swooping in with his pile bunker and pierces the troll's heart, ending its reign of terror. He lands on the body and the pile bunker starts to fall apart. Eartha scolds him that this happened because he only put everything into attack power and ignored the durability. But he made it with the intention of killing a tertiary class monster in one strike. He then notices the three onlookers and says that he is done here and that they can continue with their fight. The giant Deathstalker and Hijan exchange awkward looks and continue with their fight. Yona runs to her Dark Knight and asks for his help. She offers him everything from the giant scorpion except the poison, if he helps them kill it. He happily agrees. Hijan starts arguing about her behavior and her talking too much, but she shuts him up, and so does the scorpion as it grabs him with its tail. But Ilhan swiftly rescues him by cutting off the grasping tail. He then jabs at the giant Deathstalker's hard head. Hijan is stunned with amazement, but Yona snaps him out of it, urging him to attack as well. He uses a mana skill, Chasing Strike, which is influenced by the prior attack, and that makes it stronger. Ilhan now sees Hijan weaker, as he thought he would be. Ilhan then gets the scorpion's attention and uses his specialty, attacking where he already attacked. He jabs at its hard head and ends its stingy life. With that, he obtained a ton of experience and the records of a level 95 giant Deathstalker. He then proceeds to butcher it, taking out all the parts with poison alongside the poisonous sting in the gland. The two thank him for his help. Eartha chokeholds Paitha as she suspects correctly, and Paitha does not even deny it. He then notices something shiny in the scorpion's corpse. It was a tertiary mana stone. Paitha can't believe there is already one manifested, but Eartha does not let down on her chokehold, upgrading it Angel Cross Hardening. Yona is a bit dumb and thinks they are really close friends, while to Hijan, it looks more like a punishment. Now Hijan also becomes more persistent about Ilhan joining their clan. Yona chimes right in, asking him to join as well, that it will make Mireille very happy as well. He politely declines. But now the three don't give up and keep on pressing. Even Paitha is trying to swing him over to their clan, but he has enough and sternly says no. He does not want to mix with popular people and goes on a PTSD-fueled rant, flaring up gloom around him. Luckily for him, Eartha steps in and shows them the door, or rather drives them away to leave him alone if he does not want to go with them. They say their goodbyes and Ilhan is glad that his stealth skill is active again. He must get to work on and grabs the tertiary mana stone. He has now enough materials to evolve his resting skill. He has 500 sleeping secondary class monsters' hearts, 500 liters of troll's blood. He got 100 hours of good sleep and the final piece, tertiary class monster's mana stone. He lifts his hands towards the materials and they glow in a magic light. The resting skill finally evolves into transcendent regeneration. Now his body and mind will recover the damages dealt quickly after taking an attack. Right now, at skill level 1, even if a finger would go flying off, he will be able to regenerate it in a flash. But once activated, it cannot be reactivated until after enough energy recovery. Once it reaches a higher rank, he will be able to come back alive even if his heart gets pierced or his brain smashed in. He wonders how long it will have to take for him to train to get to that point. Nonetheless, it sounds like a great skill worth training for. Eartha smirks and points out that she is helpful after all. Now Ilhan needs to get 100 secondary class monsters for the Rookie Reaper requirement. A terrible requirement, as he is probably the only one who can fulfill such a requirement. That is probably why he got it in the first place. But the trolls are now moving differently than before. They were resting against the trees until now, but now they are neither resting nor sleeping. It is like they are on a forced warpath to avenge their leader, even though they do not seem of the type to get revenge. Eartha just urges him to get it over with so they can leave. And after that, he spent 2 days hunting trolls all over the highlands. But he only managed to get 97 of them. The numbers have sharply declined, as there was one troll every 10 minutes appearing before him. But now he barely comes across one every hour now. They are also behaving weirdly, as they don't want death and want to go back home, but are too lazy to run yet still want to live. It is like they are being forced. Ilhan thinks that someone stronger might be controlling them from the shadows. But Eartha does not believe it to be so, as he already killed their leader and doesn't believe there is another troll monster on a higher position than the leader. But then it might be another monster, which is possible. Playing it safe, he decides to go back, as there is no need to risk things. There are secondary class monsters elsewhere as well. On their way back to the exit, Ilhan notices that the path looks a bit different now. Eartha does not seem to notice until she focuses her powers. She is then shocked to discover the exit had disappeared. Eartha basically flies into a panic as the exit is gone, and she can't communicate with the other angels either. She has never experienced something like this before. But Ilhan tells Miss Higher Being to calm down. She then believes that this is now an abandoned world. As God manages many worlds, part of that is also helping other living beings when they are in danger. But sometimes monsters get way too strong and end up wiping out an entire species. The monsters who have lost their enemies begin eating each other, and then the future of that world is gone. The heavens give up on that world. Even Eartha's halo stopped glowing, which means the communication with heavens has really been cut off. Ilhan is still in denial, as this place is not an abandoned world, but a dungeon on Earth. And yes, that is what it should be. But, and before Eartha could finish her sentence, Ilhan grabs her and pulls her down on the ground, dodging an incredibly sharp strike from something. A heinous voice utters that it found it. A new record and a monster that looks like the spitting image of a grim reaper appears before them. Black cloak with ghoulish black skin and a large scythe. It is an unrecorded monster. A mutation that appears as a result of monsters eating each other and evolving. Eartha can't predict its patterns, so Ilhan must be careful. Ilhan narrowly dodges swipe after swipe of the sharp scythe. This unrecorded monster is incomparably stronger than the Highlands troll leader, but Ilhan still doesn't think that he will not be able to win. It is still a tertiary class monster. The monster didn't spot him earlier because it went for Eartha instead of him. But its specialty is also probably stealth, as Ilhan barely saved Eartha from getting sliced like a cucumber. Eartha prompts and motivates Ilhan with a reward for saving a higher being if he comes out of it alive. So with a desperate look on her face, she urges him to not die. The monster keeps swinging at him, and Ilhan has no choice but to dodge. With the pile bunker destroyed, all he has for a weapon is his spear, and his armor is basically just a strong shield. But he still rather wouldn't take a direct hit from this monster. The monster reaches out its ghoulish arm towards him and activates magic that makes red spikes burst out of the ground under Ilhan. Luckily, he jumps in the air just in time, and using the momentum he zooms by and pierces one hand of the monster, making it scream in a deranged pain. The level difference between them is almost 100 levels. so having damaged it just a bit is a miracle created by Ilhan's skill and weapon's greatness. After experiencing Ilhan's attack, the unrecorded monster now desires his records with greater fervor. But Ilhan finally adjusted to its pace, and the two now exchanged blow after blow, with Ilhan even managing to find an opening and break through. But the monster blocked the attack with the handle in the last possible second. The monster wonders how is Ilhan weak yet so strong. It desires his records, so he will possess that knowledge and understand its dilemma. With a gracious spin, the monster manages to hit Ilhan on the side and cause a large explosion. His armor is starting to break. He will not be able to hold on for long if his equipment is in shambles. Ilhan begins to understand the real power of mana. Another monster's strike causes red spikes to burst out again, forcing Ilhan to close-range combat. But Ilhan is determined to master mana someday and pierces the monster's face under its hood. But it is not enough as red spikes burst out of its face, and one almost manages to skewer Eartha, if not for Ilhan's shoulder to prevent it. But the wound is immediately turning black. Is it a curse, Eartha thinks to herself? Even Ilhan's deadly poison resistance can't stop it. Eartha understands that she needs to get away in order for Ilhan to fight without the need to protect her. Ilhan agrees and strikes the monster with another critical hit. However, he is starting to lose the feeling in his wounded arm. It is turning into a really bad situation for him. Yet weirdly, he does not feel any despair at all, and is sure that another foreshadowing needs to come true. Eartha zooms through the skies in search of Paitha, Yona, and Hijin, as they should not have been able to leave this place as it has turned into an abandoned world. She prays to God for Ilhan to endure the weight and to be protected. Somewhere in the highlands, Hajin is wondering why the escape scroll isn't working. And at that moment, a green flash appears and bursts into the ground before them. It was Eartha. She calls out to Paitha to repay her debt right now. Ilhan's mask crumbles to dust as it endures the monster's attacks. Why? The monster asks. Why doesn't he fall? It unleashes a flurry of attacks in frustration. But Ilhan is not ready to die in 2 months after being alone for 1,000 years. But Ilhan soon falls flat on his face, as even his fingers will not move anymore due to the curse spreading through his body. The monster laughs and foretells his death. Things Ilhan holds dear and wants to do flash before his eyes. He sees Eartha telling him not to die. He sees Yuona promising him to see him again. He sees himself eating delicious mom's home-cooked meals with his mother and father. And he sees Lita, the angel he spent 1,000 years with. She is still waiting for him. There is now way he is dying here and now. The monster descends its scythe into the ground and causes massive impact, burying the blade deep into the earth. But Ilhan is not on the end of that blade. In the nick of time, Yona and the others arrived, and Yona cast a magic spell that protected him and then another one that healed him. Ilhan's foreshadowing has been fulfilled. Ilhan manages to get up enveloped by a pink healing glow. The curse as well as the wounds on his body are gone. Now he can fight again. But the monster gives him no time to breathe as it swoops in with another strike, which Ilhan dodges easily. If the cavalry hadn't arrived, it would be the end of the story for our hero. Hajin doesn't understand why there is a monster like that in this dungeon. Yona tells him to attack, but he is definitely not up for it. He pushes through his fear and charges in blindly. Yona casts a blessing on him, and he manages to shield bash the monster and send it flying. Everyone is shocked that that actually worked. Eartha is amazed with the power of Yona's blessings. She then flies over to Ilhan to check up on him, and she proposes a new plan. Ilhan then asks Hajin to stall for time on his own against the monster, just for a bit. With Yona's help, he should manage about 30 seconds. And that is just enough. As the Reaper pounces on the Paladin with its strong attacks, Hajin begs Yuona for more, bigger and stronger blessings. Paitha cries at Eartha that Yona is gonna die if she continues at this rate. She doesn't particularly care about Hajin, but she'll resent her forever if anything happens to Yona. Eartha urges Paitha to trust Ilhan. If he said that 30 seconds are enough, then that should do it. Surprisingly, he went to hunt for the last 3 trolls, as he needs only 3 more secondary class monsters to get his secondary title change. Once he levels up, his condition will be fully recovered. He slays the 3 remaining trolls and blue light envelops him. He fulfilled the last condition of killing 100 secondary class monsters by ambush in 1 attack needed and has become a rookie Reaper. He gained a huge increase in his stats. His stealth's effect will be increased by 10%, with the chances of a critical hit and attack power when ambushing an enemy will be increased by 30%. His attack power alone will be increased by 20%. His stealth skills evolution conditions have been eased, and the records he collected so far have been absorbed. He leveled up to level 53. His stamina has fully recovered. He learned a new passive skill, Death Collector. Unfortunately, he still cannot use mana, but he can choose a subclass. He did all that with still 10 seconds remaining of the promised 30 seconds of stalling for time. On the other side, Hajin's defenses are starting to falter, and in the next strike of the monster, his shield breaks into little pieces and the force knocks him back next to Yona. The monster prepares its final attack to finish them off, but Yona, in a desperate act, scolds the monster with the wrath of the heavens as a pink lighting blasts and stuns the monster. Eartha is shocked that a human managed to successfully damage a monster Reaper. She has got amazing potential. Pathia proclaims Yona to be the savior of humanity, but the monster Reaper will not stay in the stunned state for long. They need to run, but Hajin can't move his body due to exhaustion and the curse of the Reaper's blade. When all hope has faded, a party with a mysterious third person is formed. Ilhan has returned dripping with coolness, shushing the two. The moment Hajin saw his back, he thought to him saved. He relaxes and curses his weakness. He is upset about it, but is relieved now that Ilhan has returned to save the day. The unrecorded monster is in a frenzy, and its body violently produces red spikes. It doesn't realize that Ilhan has returned. Ilhan activates his superhuman strength skill and stealthily pierces the monster, scoring a critical hit. The cloak and the red mist disperse, and Ilhan sees he pierced a white-haired woman. She thanks him with tears in her green eyes and departs this world. He obtained over 30 million experience points and gained 2 levels. Now he is level 55. His strength has also increased by 4 points and agility. Stamina and mana have increased by 2 points. He wonders if she was freed from her curse just now. He obtained the records of a level 157 Lita Kurgia, and his passive skill Death Collector has activated. Her life force has been absorbed and saved. Yona and Hajin rush over to him. They also leveled up thanks to him and have recovered. They are surprised to see that they were fighting a human. They have never seen anything like it, not even in the other world. But Ilhan wishes to proceed as usual. With butchering, Eartha tells him to stop. It is not a monster, it is a human. But before he could dig in, the body turned into ashes and left him with no reward. Eartha calls the woman a breaker. Ilhan is curious about that cool name and silently asks her about it. A breaker is someone who ate mana stones and were consumed by the monster's mana. When a person like that dies, they become ash. So the Reaper earlier wasn't a real monster. Even though he could not butcher her, he still got the leftover purple tertiary class mana stone, her armor and weapon. Paitha comes flying in happily as the dungeon's exit is open again. The angels also got their abilities back. Eartha still thinks that the Reaper monster, Leta Karjiha, had a secret. It is a shame she could not hear it from her, and looks at Ilhan. He is surprised at the look and gets pissy, thinking she blames him for it. He did end her after all. But Eartha retorts that she looked at him because he's cute. As usual, a nice compliment easily manipulates a loner. But Eartha is still uneasy. Even though the Reaper monster has been defeated, nothing has been resolved. This mysterious advanced dungeon that suppresses even the power of higher beings is still a mystery. And a breaker who has gone through the tertiary class title change, which shouldn't exist on Earth yet, and an abandoned world. She does not really understand what is happening on Earth right now, but she is certain of one thing: Ilhan won, and that he did it amazingly. The mysterious threat has passed, and our heroes managed to survive an encounter with what could only be called death itself. The Earth is still evolving under the heavens design, and so is our hero. But he weaves his own fate and evolves in the direction he wishes. Ilhan is getting stronger each and every day, but so are the monsters he is fighting. Who will evolve faster, Ilhan or the monsters? Be sure to like and subscribe to not miss out on the next exciting episode of crafting, magic, and monster fighting.